Hello, everyone. It's Evelyn Ackah from the Ask Canada Immigration Lawyer podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have the great pleasure of introducing you to my wonderful clients, Michael and Brian. And I'd like to introduce you and say thank you so much for joining us. You're one of our first clients on our podcast.
Wow, that's
Glad to be here.
quite an honor.
Well, your story, we've been living it together for a long time.
Wow.
And so I thought it really earned some time. And I think it's a wonderful testimony to your patience and trust in our firm because it's been so challenging. So why don't you tell me, Brian, initially, what brought you to Canada? Because you took the lead on this.
Yeah, so I am the artistic director of Calgary International Film Festival. So I'm giving away the end of the story there. But the way it began is I was previously artistic director at the Nashville Film Festival in Nashville, Tennessee. And on opening day of the 2018 Nashville Film Festival, I received an email from a headhunter asking if I would be interested in setting my resume up for this position. Needless to say, my immediate response was, can I have a couple of weeks to think about this? Because I have a festival getting ready to go.
Yeah.
But I talked to Michael and we were like, well, let's at least explore this. And while I was running Nashville Film Festival, I had my friend Joy, who's good at these things, polish up the resume and get it ready to go. Because I'd been there for 10 years. I hadn't even thought about it. Right. So she did her work. We got everything done, submitted everything to the headhunter, made it through the first round, did the pre-interview, the second interview, and then lo and behold, gosh, it wasn't even that much later in 2018, seemingly. It was only in July, right, that they flew up. Yeah. They flew me up. I was one of the two finalists in July of 2018, so just 3 months later. Wow. And by August, got the news that I had received the position and began working with you to make the move up here to Canada.
So what happened with you then is, thank goodness for us in our film festival, is that we had to do a labor market impact assessment for you because though you're educated and have all this experience, we have to basically show why you're the ideal candidate over a Canadian. And obviously working with the executive search firm, they had spent months headhunting. And so it was easy to justify that you were the right person for the role. So that's what took a little bit of time. And then we did that. And then you got your work permit.
Yes.
Right. And then when you came up first, and Michael came up after, right?
Right.
And you did the move. What did you think about moving to Canada?
Oh, how politically correct do you want me to be? Run for the border. Yeah. We've always been, I mean, we've been together since 2000. I mean, it's 22 years now. And we had to wait, and we had to wait 15 years to actually get married.
Married, yes.
Which thank God, it happened, and oh, thank God it happened. But we never thought it would. But over the course of a bunch of years, some things were happening in the U.S. that I think the writing was on the wall. It's like things are about to get really insanely bad. I mean, clinically insanely bad. Mm-hmm. And we looked at each other one fateful night in November of 2016, and we said, we're leaving. We were going to go. There's a beautiful place in central Mexico that we still might retire to. I don't know, but we immediately, I found a realtor and we started looking for places to, we knew we needed to get out. Yeah. And if you follow the news now, Tennessee, the state we moved from, it's just, things are getting worse. Yeah. And that makes it all worthwhile. Plus it's Canada, it's Calgary, it's beautiful.
It's cold compared to where you've been. It's a bit chilly. I remember the first cold. Winter, you guys were freezing. Have you lived outside the US at all, ever?
No, for neither of us.
This is a big move.
Yeah, it was a very big move.
People don't realize, even if you're American, this is a big move. Wherever you're coming to Canada and you think, oh, you're coming from Africa or Asia, and my goodness, it's a big move. Even from the US, it's a really big move.
Yeah.
Everything is different. So what were the challenges for you? Forget the immigration for now. What did you find the hardest thing to kind of adapt to?
For me, honestly, it was the climate. Now, granted, I grew up, we both grew up in Indiana, and
Yeah.
cold winters were the
Yes.
norm. But then we'd also, again, I said we spent 10 years in Nashville, Tennessee, where you got cold snaps from time to time, but never like this. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
that first February we were here when it never got above freezing. It was frequently minus 40.
Oh, that first winter.
That
my
was
God.
that was an adjustment period for sure.
You were
That
thinking,
first-
what did I do?
Yeah.
That first morning that I took the dog out when it was minus 40. it
Oh
was-
my God.
Wow, it's cold. But what I've learned is I actually really like the cold. Much more.
Really?
Well, you can always put on another sweater.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you can only take
look
so much
very
off
cute
without,
in the
you know,
winter
going to
with all
jail.
of those cute things, and
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
do it up. I hear you.
Yeah, but I actually I've sort of learned to prefer the cold.
Wow.
And which is good because we're in
You're in the cold. We're here in Calgary. What do you think surprised you the most about living an expat life in Canada?
We were talking about this earlier, and
Yeah.
some things there were, in some ways there were very few surprises. You know, it was just like we get along with anyone.
That's
know.
true.
I mean, you put up with us for 4.5
A long time.
I know.
No, I mean,
know.
did you meet other expats? Like, I wonder sometimes if expats kind of just, stick together a little bit sometimes.
It's interesting. Like most of our friends that we've made here are actually Canadian, but
Okay.
we've also made friends, a surprising number of friends from Brazil, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, a lot of other immigrant people who also immigrated here.
Yeah.
Interestingly, it's only until we moved into this apartment, though, we actually have a neighbor who moved here from Houston, Texas. So
Oh my
really, it's our first friend who's also an American
Yeah.
who's living up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say most friends Canadian, but we've
Yeah.
met we have met several immigrants just from other parts of the world. Well, I mean, there was one point where our favorite pizza joint owned by
Yes.
Serbian immigrants.
Mhm. They're very, very good friends.
Yeah, our
I
pharmacist. is
remember you told me
Nigerian.
about
Yeah.
them. Are they still there?
They're
Oh,
still
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Okay, good. We're gonna
Great
have to
pizza
check
still.
it out.
Pizzeria Gaga.
Yeah.
They're the best.
But no, we kind of realized as we went around the circle of the places that we visited most frequently, almost all of them were owned by fellow newcomers, which was
That's
kind
so
of it was nice
cool.
to support them from all over the globe. So
That
yeah,
is so cool.
And
So
that's one word that I picked up on like almost immediately when we got here was newcomers.
oh,
We're used to foreigners or illegal aliens.
oh my goodness, it's a
You know,
different
and
term.
here, there's newcomer services. I came here with no job,
I remember.
and which was a little stressful. And I found out through the newly opened Calgary Public Library.
Yep.
I went there. I found that they had newcomer employment, like counseling and services
Wow.
through Mount Royal, and they immediately, no fee, paid for by our taxes.
Mm-hmm.
They hooked me up with a career counselor who within like 3 weeks I had a job.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
a good job.
Yeah.
And that was, and it cost nothing.
That's a great thing. I remember you told me you were just in shock.
I was like, oh my God, Evelyn, I just got a job.
I have to tell people about that because I don't even know all the services. Like, that's the one thing is when we bring you in and you're able to work, it's kind of like my hands are finished now, and I feel like if we could provide more support on the challenges, especially of the spouse, that is not maybe the primary, because it's hard. And that's why I love that they let spouses work. Whereas in the old days, you'd sit here and you couldn't work.
Well, I mean,
until
I could probably do that for
You
a
wouldn't
while.
mind? No, it makes you crazy. I've seen it. It's a challenge. And so it's nice to be able to work and to meet a community of your own friends at work and have that social life. Otherwise, this can be quite alienating.
Yeah, and there were carryover things like, my whole adult life I've been in the U.S. Episcopalian, which is Anglican.
Yeah, here.
And so I immediately started attending the Anglican Cathedral here in Calgary, and so a large percentage of my friends are sort of elderly British women.
Yeah, that's the makeup of these churches
I
these
fit in
days,
pretty
right?
well,
That's so cool.
But yeah, it's been pretty. It's been pretty. We've made, wherever we go, we make friends. I mean, not bragging. We just we like people, and
I think it's true.
but that was the hardest thing, actually. That was the biggest adjustment, is we had been here for barely a year, and suddenly this pandemic
Oh,
happens.
yes.
And we were literally trapped in a 2-bedroom apartment for
A year,
long?
basically.
A
before
year.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, your next door neighbors couldn't visit. It
Yeah.
was so, and there were no murders committed, obviously.
I will say, our next door neighbor, we actually became closer to her during the pandemic, when speaking across the
Balcony?
barrier wall between
Yeah.
our balconies, she was like, "Do you guys like English muffins? I just made some fresh ones," and she handed them up over.
Oh,
Mysterious
wall.
hand appears.
So once you were able
with
to start
muffins.
like hanging out together again, then we started hanging out, and we
Yeah.
stayed friends ever since. So
so
that was kind of
great.
fun.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
the
best.
COVID really took a toll. I mean, not just on you that were already here under work permits, but like it affected everything. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
this should not have taken 4 years. Is
Right.
that how long it's taken?
Yeah.
It should not have. It should have been
Over 4.
2.5 years. But because of COVID, as you know, and with your patients, everything was harder and everything took longer. And I have to say, I can't imagine the frustration, but you guys were just so lovely. And I know you were waiting and everything, but it was just constantly telling clients, we have no idea, COVID.
Yeah.
And at some point you just feel very helpless. And I just think that it must have been concerning. You must have had your freakouts.
Oh my God!
There's-
Well, me.
I know
how long
you.
Have you known me, Evelyn?
Got over everything. But, no, I think there's a stress in limbo that a lot of people, unless you've truly experienced it, can never quite understand. That like
Yeah.
this sort of feeling that like there's someone out there who could snap a finger and send me back when I really don't want to go back.
Exactly.
And even though I think with our chances, it was probably minimal, like very minimal.
Yes.
But even the fact that there might have been a 1% chance out there just is enough to like add this level of daily stress that like, unless you live it, you don't quite understand it.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah, there did
Well,
come
yeah,
a
you've done
point, probably about a year ago, where I think we hadn't given up, but it was like, it's just been too long.
Yeah.
And it's been too stressful. Let's look at Mexico again.
Mexico's always the
I think
backup.
there was a very brief time where we had that conversation. It's like,
Oh.
do we just need to assume this is not going to happen? And it happened.
Yeah.
I knew it would happen, but I mean,
Oh
it
my
took
God,
so
what a day it
long.
was.
And I have to say that, I think it's also the idea of, do you want to buy a place? Do you even want to invest in friendships? Like you start to
Right.
feel like, do you even want to get a new job? Because you're just like, it changes how you make decisions, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, for
Like
sure.
now that you're a permanent resident, the card hopefully will come any day now.
Yes.
Then
the card,
it's
but
done.
hey,
Yep.
Then you can, if you want to, you can become a citizen, but
Yeah.
that you're secure and you can decide how much you want to get your roots down. So you think it
Right.
affected that for you, right?
I think we want to do that.
Well,
I think
yeah,
you should.
yeah,
do
no,
it.
I think we will approach it for sure.
Why
But
not?
it is the one thing that it really did impact was the idea of buying. Like, I was
Yeah.
so afraid. I'm like, I'm not going to
I
invest
know.
in a piece of property that could eventually be forced to sell, and who knows what the market's going to be like.
Yeah, the real
Exactly.
estate market's so
So,
crazy right
who
now.
knows
Yeah,
what it's gonna be like still,
exactly. It
but-
makes perfect sense. I mean, I
So-
tell most people when they come here, don't buy, give yourself time,
Yeah.
rent, check out neighborhoods. Like, don't do what I did when I moved here from Toronto. I arrived in 4 days, I had to find a place. I bought a house. Thank God. I loved it. I still do. But I mean, when you're coming from outside, it's even harder because
Yeah.
you don't
Well-
have credit. That's the one thing,
Yeah.
right? You come and you're starting over again.
Well, it was funny. I felt like a college freshman in the States, or like first year of college, like college.
Years.
Because it's like literally like, here's your credit card. It's $1,000 limit. I'm
I
like, what?
know.
Yeah.
And
But if you
Painful when
pay
you
it
start.
off like 3 times a week, by the time our PR came through, our credit is kicking butt right now.
Of course.
that is a bit of an advantage, is like you get to start over having learned all the mistakes that you made when you were a freshman. in
Exactly.
college. And so,
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the
And
thing
our-
people don't think about is that it's not so easy to just say, hey, everything I have in the States I can bring. You're starting
no,
over.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
it's,
You know?
that was one of the things. You were asking about some of the challenges getting here. Of course, he had to be here immediately you know,
Yeah.
once his job or his work permit was done,
Yeah.
he had to be here. And so there were like 2.5 months
Yeah.
Mhm. You
where
were
that
apart.
left me back in Nashville with all of our stuff of 18 years
Yeah.
and our dog and my job, having
Yeah.
to quit that, and a lease that we had just signed 6 weeks prior, which we
Oh.
had to pay. That cost us
That
fortune.
was a mistake on our part.
Yeah.
Oh.
But basically, I was like, if it won't fit in a box, it's not coming. And
Really?
so we donated and sold. And what's the place where you take things?
Consignment.
Yeah.
Consigned.
Consigned.
All
Yeah.
the like basically everything that was not that I couldn't pick up and move myself, you know.
Really? I didn't
And
know
then
that.
this
Yeah.
was and the best part is our friend Joy, who he mentioned
Yeah.
earlier, and our dog, a little she's no longer with us, but
Yes, I remember.
and me in a U-Haul truck for 4 days driving from Nashville to Calgary in December.
Oh,
I was never so happy. This is why we don't have cars. Actually,
Yeah.
we're totally dependent on public transportation.
yeah.
Good.
You
I
don't
don't
need
care
it.
if I ever drive a vehicle ever again in my life. It was awful.
But so you started over. I love that. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that. I mean, I would be just giving up your stuff, but then it's also expensive to move, and relocation is expensive.
Yeah.
So you can buy anything you need, right? I think
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
Well, and like we had a few family pieces, but
Of
I would
course,
hand
yeah.
those off to my niece and
Yeah.
things like this. So we
Mhm.
didn't
Yeah,
get
so
rid
they
of
can
anything that
stay
really
in the
had.
family, the
Yeah,
things you,
exactly.
yeah.
We didn't have
Oh, that's
family-
wonderful.
Yeah.
Throwing heirlooms in the garbage or anything.
Yeah.
I
does
never
your-
liked this anyway.
What does your family think about you both now being permanent residents of Canada?
Oh, they're very happy.
They're happy.
Yeah.
Are they? They're
my-
not jealous. They're not upset
Oh,
that
they're
you
so
abandoned
jealous.
them.
So jealous.
I mentioned my niece, and she actually lives and works in Montana now, so not very far.
Oh,
But
that's great.
she and her boyfriend keep thinking like, how do we get up there? And I'm like, well, you're
Mhm.
still young, you have a chance, so
Yeah.
you should really think about it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, that's the nice part is with her being so close, we have seen her a few times now that, once the border reopened.
That's great.
And my sister's been up here. My mom hopes to get up here soon.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. She's a
Good.
little up in years, but and my other sister, if my mom's able to come, my other sister will be
Oh,
the one that
that's so
brings her up here.
great.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're very happy.
They know you're happier. I mean,
Oh yeah,
obviously.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's good. Yeah. Wow.
Some people are a bit jealous.
Well, you can always send them our way. It'll
Absolutely.
be easier
Right.
with no more COVID. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Right.
So if an American friend or somebody is like, even your niece is like, how can I get to Canada? What would you tell them? What would be the advice about moving that they would need to know? Besides, forget the immigration stuff, but like, how would you prepare them for the change? I mean, Canadians are different than Americans.
Get a lawyer.
Well, there's that. But aside,
Call Evelyn.
she said aside from the immigration. So well, you're exactly right. I do think look for jobs that fit your niche, obviously, because that's how we ended up here. But
Yes.
don't wait if you're young, because it's easier if you're younger to get up here.
Yes.
The other thing is, and I experienced this with part of my family, like I was told over and over again, oh, the taxes are going to kill you. The taxes are going to kill you. The taxes are going to kill you. But it's also what I would say to an American friend, like, but when your health insurance premium is not being deducted out of your paycheck, when like that's the one thing that was kind of shocking.
I'm bringing home more.
Yeah,
Yes.
both of us, our take home pay is
Of
higher
course.
than it was in the
Much
States.
higher. And
Yeah.
and
People don't think about that. I hear this a lot. Well, you guys have to line up and you have socialist health care.
no,
I'm like,
that's
really?
something that I meant to, I jotted down to talk about. Our families cannot believe that we're not like having to line up for death panels and die in the streets waiting for the one doctor that
Oh my
all of
God.
Canada,
It's a
Because
myth.
There's
Like
this
it's,
absolute propaganda campaign
Yes.
in there.
yes.
And so we got here, and I because we're old, I guess, I'm on some medication, and
Yeah.
I have high with blood pressure.
Yeah. We
And
all are on something.
I'm like, well, I've only got like a couple of weeks left. How am I going to do this? Am I going to have to like smuggle it across the board? So I called right across the street, and like less than a block away was a medical clinic.
Mhm.
And I'd been here for maybe a week, and I'm like, I got to get on this nightmare that I'm about to endure, waiting forever. And I called over to the clinic and I said, hi, I just explained the entire thing. You know,
Yeah.
I just moved here. I'm so excited. And the receptionist was like, okay, so what you're asking is you're asking for a family doctor. I said, yes. She said, so we need to arrange a meet and greet. I said, yes. She said, and you said you're close by? I said, yeah. She said, can you be here in an hour and a half? Dr. Collins has an opening. I was like, you today?
Yeah.
Literally an hour and a half later,
Wow.
I had the most comprehensive medical history taken, labs done.
Wow.
And I stopped at the desk on the way out, and she's like, what are you doing? I'm grabbing my wallet just instinctively. She's like, we don't know. What do you know?
Yeah. Isn't that great? You don't have to
Yeah.
think about the credit card or whatever you need to
Well,
pay.
it's for real. This only this year that I finally stopped grabbing my wallet to pull my card out, and I'm like, oh, I don't have to do that.
Yeah. And it's the
Yeah.
best medical care. My background is in healthcare. I mean, I
Yeah.
know good healthcare. It's the best, most thorough medical care I've ever.
Wow. Well, that is so, I've been sick in the States. I think we went to Disneyland and I had some awful, I think I had bronchitis and it was not fun, right? With children and everything. And I was hacking. So my sister and I found a clinic early one morning. We drove there. I was in and out. What I loved about it was, yeah, you paid, but it was like see the nurse, see the doctor, get your puffer, pay the $100 for this and $50 for that, all in the same place. And you're out. And I thought, wow, that was pretty efficient. I didn't have to go to the pharmacy. I didn't have to, but I hear what you're saying is that, there are pros and cons on both sides,
Oh yeah,
right?
Oh, yeah.
no system's perfect. But
Yeah.
like I did, like if when you go for your annual exam,
Yeah.
and you go get your labs, like you literally just walk down the hallway in the
Wow.
States. That was
Yeah.
a nice
Here you
thing.
gotta book
But-
appointments
Every
and-
doctor's office has a
Yeah.
lab, a lab facility on site, which is nice.
That's
Yeah.
super nice. That's
Yeah.
super nice.
So yeah, I'm not going to say any system's perfect.
No.
but
But I did
the
find
fact
out
that
when
the access is so
Yeah.
easy here.
Yeah.
when we had to get our immigration medicals done.
Yes.
Of course, we have to pay out of pocket for that, which
Yes.
was that was whatever. But that included labs. I'm like, oh my God, I've got to go to the lab and get these like 2 tests, tuberculosis and
Mhm.
I don't know, syphilis or something. Turns out we're fine.
Yes, of course you are.
But I'm like, this lab test is probably going to cost me like $300.
Because that's what it would cost you in the States.
It was $6.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
$6.
I don't even know that. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great.
I was like, can I just give you more? Because
That's really great. No, I think you guys are making a really good point. I mean, we're not perfect because,
no.
sometimes when you need a specialist, there's a line,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that's what people say is like, it'd be nice if our healthcare adapted to those who didn't want to wait. Just like some of them go down south and get their knees done in Palm Springs or, whatever, private clinics. So if you can afford it and you wanted to, you could skip the line.
Yeah.
But there are some things we do line up for, but the fact that it's free.
Yeah, but
Because
you also
we
know
pay
that
our
if you're hit by a
taxes.
bus, you're not going to be left in the street. You're going to be taken
No.
and given immediate care.
Yeah.
That's very high
That's true.
quality.
Oh, I'm really happy to hear that. Is there anything you guys want to share before we wrap up? I'm so grateful for you. Honestly, it has been a journey.
Oh,
well,
When you
obviously
guys
we're
got your
grateful for you.
PR, the whole office heard me screaming, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Yeah, no, it was.
so-
I just said,
It was like, it bothered me too, because it was one of the longest files. And, there's no reason for it. It's basically some things just sat on someone's desk and others, were moving and there was no logic. So I couldn't explain it to you and a couple of the clients that were taking way too long. And so I'm very happy for you. And I look forward to your citizenship ceremony.
Yes.
If you decide to go that route, I'll be there with my big Canadiana basket. Really happy for you. But is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
It's the best thing we've ever done.
yeah. Could not be happier. Like today was a long day
Yeah.
of work,
Mhm.
but it was also like an incredible day. And, I look back on that day in 2018
Mm.
and it felt like it was just kind of a whim. But it's the best decision I've ever made. Like, so
Oh,
glad that we are.
Toss your
are
resume out
here.
there, see what
Yeah.
happens.
he's going to Mexico next.
Brush
I
up
I
on your
can't help
Spanish.
you with Mexican immigration.
I
though.
think
Sorry,
that's
guys.
retirement though. I think that actually
That
is
would be a
retirement.
wonderful
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Michael, you're good?
Hmm?
Anything? You're good?
I know. It's just we are so happy. In ways, it still feels like brand new. In other ways, it's like we've been here our whole lives.
Mm.
And the thing is, the people that even though our friends and family, back in the States, we're so jealous. They're so happy for us.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the most important thing. I'm so happy you guys are happy. And it makes me appreciate even more, like being a Canadian. I mean, when you
Yeah.
help people like this every day, it just makes you really grateful. Yeah,
And
I
you're so
love
good
the
at it.
US. I'm in Austin, next week, and then I'm back again a month later. I'm speaking at 2 conferences. I love the US, but I always love to come
Austin's
home.
great.
Yeah, it is.
Oh yeah,
I
absolutely.
always love to come home. And I
Yeah.
think there's something to be said for that familiarity. So I'm glad that Calgary is your home now
Yeah.
and that you let us help you. Very grateful. And thanks for doing our podcast, guys.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank
Evelyn. It's great
you.
to see
Great
We
you.
work.
appreciate you.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, guys. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining our podcast.
You bet.
Absolutely.
Okay. There we go.